Siyabulela nokho masizole mandiqale kulandawo ogqithe kuyo yokungabikho ngalamini kwakufanele ndibe khona ngayo ndixolise kuba ndandifana nomuntu omotshayo xa sekusiliwe sekufanele kusele kutyiwe bese ndithi mina hayi andikwazi kuba kunento ezindibambile ndibulele kuba nokho sakwazi ukuthi sithi ayiphinde ibekho le mini ndithi njani ndixolise kuloo ndawo kuba inkinga yabantu labo kuthiwa ngoomongameli ungaze wena ucinga ukuthi bayabusa bashaya umthetho sishayela umthetho ndithi ndingazi kuthiwe nansi iprogram ithi wazibophela ngalamini sendaze ndayeka abantu xa bethi ndifuna ukukubona ndithi hoza kuba sendiphoxeke igqithi ndithi xa ndithi kuzubani kuthiwa awukho ngaloo mini so siphethwe kakhulu sixa uthi uyaphendwa kuthiwa hlala phaya uthi uyahlala kuthiwa ayilunganga ngapha hlala ngapha kunama-dictator yiwo ke lawa ndibangela uba ndingakwazi ukuza ngalaa mini ayisotyala lam ke Director of the program Diba Inkosi Zwelivelile Ndlunkulu Nolusapho Mandela Perry of Mvezo Komkhulu Honorable Premier Phumlo Moswale Minister Angie Motshekga, the Minister of Basic Education in our country, MEC Ngandla Makhuphula, uphethe kakuhle lo mcimbi. Why ngathethi nyani lo mfo xa ethi tishara akawusixelelanga? Why nixelele phofu? So tishara wathole answer right mos. Leyabe ifuna. OR Tambo Executive Mayor, KSD Executive Mayor, and other mayors who are here. In absentia, the family of King Lobusi Lewanika's granddaughter and grandson, who were supposed to be here, Mvezo Traditional Council, the Makgatho family who are here, Dr. Chung Hong Dak, the chairman of the Chang Hong Dak Foundation, the Reverend Mbete and Reverend Viga of the Methodist Church, and other religious leaders present. Traditional leaders who are here, members of the diplomatic corps, distinguished guests, Mozi walapha Mvezo wonke kunye namaphethelo, Program Director, it is an honor to be part of this auspicious occasion. the official opening of the Makgatho Lewanika Mandela Primary School. Today, we return to Mvezo to honor the gallant and indeed the giant whose umbilical cord is buried deep in the bowels of this village, the great statesman of our time, Mthatha, President Nelson Mandela, the founding president of our democratic South Africa. Madiba dedicated his life to the struggle for the liberation of this country, his people, and indeed the world. His humility, compassion, and humanity earned him the love and respect of the people of South Africa, Africa, and the world. Madiba's abiding vision was for a society where no person was exploited, oppressed, or despised by another. Madiba's life was dedicated to the building of a united, non-racial, non-sexist, democratic, and prosperous South Africa, and a just world order. Program Director, we are also celebrating the 25th anniversary since Madiba's release from 27 years of incarceration by the apartheid regime. We are therefore inspired by the memory of Madiba as we meet here today to take forward his vision of promoting education as a weapon of liberation. Any school that is opened in our country is actually a tribute to Madiba, as he loved children and wanted them to earn quality education for the betterment of our country. Today, we open this state-of-the-art facility with a name that honors three giants of our struggle: Makgatho Lewanika Mandela. Sefaku Makgatho was the second president of the ANC, and King Lewanika of Zambia attended the first and founding conference of the ANC in 1912 in Bloemfontein. It is, in fact, and a fact of great historical importance that the founding conference of the ANC was attended by leaders from beyond our borders, and by traditional leaders who became honorary presidents of the organization. The honorary presidents announced at the conference were King Dalindyebo of the Abatembu, Mosiwa of the Barolong, Lewanika of Barotseland in Zambia, King Letsia II of Basutoland, Chief Khama of Botswana, and King Dinizulu of Amazulu. King Letsia and the people of Zambia are thus being honored as well today with the naming of this school. We're affirming our African identity and the fact that our struggle was also fought by Africans beyond our borders. Distinguished guests, the greatness of Tata Madiba will remain for a long time to come. One day, sitting with President Oliver Tambo in Mozambique, reminiscing about the struggle. It was tough. You couldn't see the way forward. We had to do everything we could to defeat apartheid. And then he says, Zoo, that's how he used to call me, Sibadala ngoku. Fanele siyeke nokho. Nithathe mfondini ke nikhokhele. Sigugile ngoku. Saying they are now old, they need to stand aside and allow the young blood. He says we have able young men in the organization. So I say to him, that is the biggest mistake we can commit. Rest assured, you will struggle until you are sitting down, you can no longer move. And I said, there has been generations in this country, and one of the generations was the generations of the traditional leaders that fought to defend South Africa. And some of them fought such battles that their names have remained to be household names in South Africa. They are no longer here. O Hinsa, O Dalindyebo, O Skukuni, O Mushweshwe, O Dinga. And I said, your generation, we are the last generation that will liberate us, and your names will remain household names. And I said, you can therefore not abandon the struggle. What we are talking about is almost like abandoning the struggle. We are your soldiers. You don't need to run now. We do the running. And we were doing the running. And I said to him, among the names is people like Mthatha, Govan Mbeki, Walter Sisulu, Tambo, Mandela. I did not increase the list. I shortened it deliberately. I'm making this point because Madiba had something that was unusual. He could see things that other people have not yet seen. Just like OR, by the way. Moses Mabhida said one day, Oliver Tambo is the brightest leader I've ever come across. He sees things 3 years ahead of all of us. Madiba, in his own way, had his own way of seeing things before everyone. The evidence of that is when two of them, Ukamela and Madiba, discussed the armed struggle when no one else was discussing it. They actually originated the idea and conspired to raise the idea in the National Executive Committee when no one was thinking we now need to fight. Madiba was already clear the time has come. And indeed, because they were complementing these two each other. Madiba raised the matter. And one of the best, almost the father of the correct theoretical policies and strategies, Moses Kotane. When Madiba finished, he went for him and said, this is adventurism of the first order, and attacked them. And he silenced them, and the meeting continued. When they were out of the meeting, Kamela says, Diba is up. We did not plan properly for this meeting. Senziputa by not convincing Kotane first. Because Kotane was the tenor of the weather. Wathi hayi Diba, hamba uyosela itiye noKotane. Umcacisele kakuhle uzayiva because uKotane can understand things. You didn't have time there to elaborate. And indeed, Madiba went and had a cup of tea with Kotane and explained the conditions. And at the end, Kotane said, Mandela, I now understand you. Raise the matter again in the next NEC. And the matter was raised in the NEC. Quite a number of people were waiting for Kotane to attack Madiba again. Kotane argued for the armed struggle, to a surprise of many who saw him before. Madiba, OR used to say, when a person is difficult, you send Madiba. He turns people no matter how they were thinking. Now, I'm making this point because for Madiba to name his son out of these great leaders tells you the foresight. He understood that our struggle was not just the struggle of South Africa. In any case, at the establishment of the ANC, the entire Southern Africa was there. And these great leaders were great indeed. The fact that this king left Zambia to come to attend a conference here, it tells you the greatness and the thinking. But perhaps for the benefit of ANC people, let me say one thing about Makgatho. Makgatho was a leader of the ANC in the Transvaal. In Mangaung, he had the biggest delegation. He was leading the biggest delegation, but he was also nominated. There were 3 contesting people, among them Makgatho and John Dube. And John Dube was not even in the meeting at the time. The greatness of these leaders. Makgatho said to his delegation, I want to persuade you that we support John Dube, not me, so that John Dube becomes the first president. And he explained to them the work that John Dube had done, and his delegation agreed. Otherwise, he could have been elected the first president because he had the majority. But he, in a sense, infused something important, his majority, with leadership and the understanding of the ANC more than himself. Do we still have someone who can say so in our conferences? The critical thing, when Mthatha said, I've given birth to a young man, and gave him these 3 names, he was actually talking about unity in Southern Africa. He was recognizing that we are one people. He was making us not to forget the founders of the ANC. Hence today, the son of his son, Makgatho, Mthatha wenkosi uZwelivelile, today raises these names to national importance and Southern African importance. That's Madiba, who always saw things before we saw them. Because at that time, Southern Africa came together, and the traditional leaders played a role because they had been defending the country. And that's why the first structure of the ANC had the upper house and the lower house. And the traditional leaders were in the upper house. And these kings in particular had to be recognized. They were not the only ones who were there. Swaziland was there as well. This, therefore, is a historic day for us to reflect on our history, to know who were there, to therefore say, here is a school that is going to be like the fountain of knowledge to our young people, to our future leaders, but coined together by the great man who named his son after these great leaders. Today's official opening occurs when the new South Africa has come of age. We have already celebrated our 21st anniversary of the 1994 democratic breakthrough. Indeed, South Africa is a better place today than it was 21 years ago. Each year, we make progress in providing services to our people, such as water, electricity, better roads, housing, better schools, and better clinics and hospitals. These things, because we talk about them, at times we take them for granted. You don't hear this kind of vocabulary in many countries. In many countries, people see for themselves. We look after our people. We budget for them. The fact that we have not solved all the problem is because of the size of the problem. But we talk about our people getting the essential things in life. This year, we also celebrate the 60th anniversary of the adoption of the Freedom Charter. This historic document proclaimed that the people shall govern. This historic document on education, it unequivocally stated, and I quote, "The doors of learning and culture shall be opened. Education shall be free, compulsory, universal, and equal for all children," unquote. In my State of the Nation address last year, I said, education is a ladder out of poverty for millions of our people. Once educated, you are empowered. We are happy, therefore, that there is a huge increase in the enrollment of children in schools, from pre-primary to tertiary levels. The number of children attending grade R has more than doubled, moving from about 300,000 to more than 700,000 between 2003 and 2011. A draft policy framework towards universal access to grade R has been gazetted for public comment with a view to making grade R compulsory in our country, thus giving our children a good start in life. $8 million learners are attending no-fee schools, whereas 9 million learners are getting nutritious meals at school, which are provided by the government to ensure that they do not suffer from starvation, and that enables them to perform well. The matric pass rate has gone up from around 61% in 2009 to 78% last year, and the bachelor passes improve each year. Through the annual national assessments, we keep track of improvements and interventions needed, especially in maths and science. To promote inclusivity and diversity, the South African Sign Language curriculum is now offered in some schools. We have increased our numbers of literate adults through the Karikude program from 2.2 million in 2008 to 3 million people. We have also been investing in teacher training and are reopening teacher training colleges to meet the demand of teachers. Siyaqhuba, siyasebenza sidlala, siyaqhuba. Abanomona kuphela but asiqhubi, and asinandaba nabo, siyaqhuba nje. To produce a decent learning environment, we have delivered over 370 new schools, replacing mud schools and other unsuitable structures around the country. That work continues. Program Director, a lot has been achieved, but a lot more needs to be done. While celebrating these achievements, we are happy the royal family of Mvezo, Komkhulu, has also decided that the children of Mvezo deserve better opportunities and better education. We wish all communities could do so. The Mvezo Komkhulu's focus on education is evident through the establishment and realization of the Mandela School of Science and Technology, the Nolusapo Early Childhood Development Center, and now the new Makgatho Lewanika Mandela Primary School. Indeed, we do have a good story to tell. And we congratulate Mvezo Komkhulu for putting the people first. In recognizing the extraordinary human achievement of the son of Mvezo, in November 2009, the United Nations General Assembly declared 18 July Madiba's birthday to be the Nelson Mandela National Day. In taking this bold decision, the General Assembly said the world must honor Madiba's birthday as a token of appreciation for his extraordinary dedication to the values of freedom, equality, world peace, and justice. In fact, it further called upon people worldwide to emulate Madiba's values of service to humanity and humility and passion. It is important to note that this was the first time in the history that the UN designated a day to honor an individual. It is such an honor for the Republic of South Africa and her people. The UN further asked the people of the world to set aside 67 minutes to their day to undertake a task that would contribute to the bringing joy or relief to the millions of disadvantaged and vulnerable people of the world. The only compelling reason that the United Nations agreed to set aside a day to honor the son of Mvezo was because of his role as a revolutionary leader who spent nearly 7 decades of his life in the struggle against white minority rule and for a free and democratic non-racial society. Madiba's greatness lies in the fact that he was a visionary, a democrat, and international political leader who exercised his influence and leadership with humility and respect for his colleagues and opponents alike. He was above all a man who was determined to fight all forms of discrimination, injustice, and inequality. It was this selfless service that earned him the recognition as a global statesman and the many accolades bestowed upon him, including the esteemed Isithwalandwe Siapalagwe, the highest honor that can be bestowed on the ANC leader. Member of the Order of Mapungubwe and the Nobel Peace Prize winner among many of his accolades. In July this year, we marked the 60th anniversary of the International Nelson Mandela Day. It is within this context that today we gather here to renew our vow that our freedom is incomplete as long as sections of our society still remain vulnerable. The ground on which we stand today is a refurbished school which will further the ideals of Mthatha, who loved children and valued education more than anything else. Madiba put it succinctly in his world acclaimed autobiography, Long Walk to Freedom, when he wrote, and I quote, "Education is a great engine of personal development. It is through education that the daughter of a peasant can become a doctor, that the son of a mine worker can become the head of the mine, that a child of a farm worker can become the president of a great nation," unquote. Today, we proudly open this beautiful Makgatho Lewanika Primary School to ensure that the children of Mvezo never become hewers of wood and drawers of water. We expect the next generation of Mvezo children to take up their rightful place in commerce, academia, leadership, and the advancement of human rights and dignity. We are indeed honored to walk in the shadow of a giant that was Madiba. We owe to him and his generation an immense debt of gratitude for sacrificing life and limb in pursuance of our liberty. We therefore have a historical duty to honor the ideals of Madiba and his generation through words, deeds, and hard work in service of humanity. We need to inculcate in our society that there is honor in hard work. There is honor in humility. There is honor in serving humanity. There is honor in sacrifice. There is honor in showing compassion. We must, through deeds, agree with ourselves that we will not let Madiba die as long as we live. President Nelson Mandela, the father of our nation and icon of our struggle, must never die for as long as the untold suffering of our people continue, and for as long as the ANC lives to create a better life for all. Together, we have come far to build the South Africa that Comrade President Nelson Mandela and his generation envisioned. Much has been done. However, much more remains to be achieved. The fulfillment of his pledge to liberate our people from the continuing bondages of poverty, deprivation, suffering, gender, and other discrimination must be the inspiration that guides our people during this time and beyond. In a moving tribute written by his comrade in arms, a mentor and a friend, the late Comrade Walter Sisulu, he wrote thus, and I quote, "In a world of the powerful and powerless, among decision makers and marginalized, among children, youth, and adults, he was at ease and at home, and he made each of us feel less disempowered and more captains of ourselves," unquote. In the memory of Tata, in the memory of Makgatho, in the memory of the heroes of our struggle, more importantly, in the memory of President Nelson Mandela, it is my honor and privilege to declare the Makgatho Lewanika Primary School officially opened. I thank you.
Thank you very much. We can sit down.
Well, that is how we come to the end of this function, the official opening of the Makgatho Lewanika Primary School here in the village of Mvezo. Hopefully, Tommy, these, beautiful buildings state-of-the-art equipment will indeed be put to good use, because with some of these problems at the launch, everything is just beautiful, and then it's a downward spiral from there. Things are not being maintained, equipment disappears. One hopes that that won't happen here.
But also just the provision of teachers, because in some instances we've seen this in several parts of the province where schools get the state-of-the-art equipment, but then you don't have teachers who are able to use them. And I think that's the greatest challenge that they will have to make sure that they correct, to ensure that they've got teachers that will be able to teach these kids how to use this equipment so that they can really equip them. But indeed, it is a proud moment here in these villages. I mean, you could see people inside, the way they've worn the traditional garments to really show that how important this moment is for the education of the children of these villages.
One hopes, of course, that indeed the other remnants of the problems that we've seen in education in this part of the country will also take a leaf from this particular episode and ensure that they do not indeed fail the people, not only of this village, but of the broader province of the Eastern Cape and indeed South Africa. From me, Mvezo, it's a goodbye for now.
And Tammy Dixon, it's a goodbye. Thank you very much.